In my last video, I showed you how to make a basic inventory GUI, and to make that useful at all, we need to actually have item drops in our game. So I'm going to write a simple script here just to make our NPC drop items on death. So we're going to make a function for on input. So function input on input, and then we'll just go end. Now we need it to do something on input, so we're going to make a special binding for death essentially. So we'll just call this C, that'll be our key, and then we'll just call the action die. And go back to our NPC script, and we'll just go if action ID equals hash die, then we want to disable the sprite. So we'll go to our main collection and just make sure we have where our sprite is. So NPC, so we have the NPC sprite is what our sprite is called. So we'll go back to our NPC script, and then we'll call msg.post, and then we'll call it hash NPCs. You just gotta make sure you get the capitalization right, the cases right. So NPC sprite, all caps on NPC, and capital sprite. And then we'll send the message ID, and we'll just call this disable, which we're just gonna disable the sprite. And then we'll just push end right here. So when we press C, one other thing we need to do is get the input focus. So msg.post, and then we'll just go hash input focus, acquire input focus, and you want this in quotes as well. And so when we go into our game, when we press C, our sprite will be disabled. The player is actually still moving, but that's not a big deal right now. So now what we want to do is we're going to close out of this, and now we need to make a drops item essentially, which is just going to contain all your drops for that specific player. So we'll go into folder, we'll call this drops folder, and then inside the folder we'll create a new folder and we'll call this assets. And inside the assets I have a bunch of item PNGs that are going to be my sprites for the assets. This is what they look like for free on itch.io. So we'll open the assets folder, show in desktop, and I'll just drag my sprites in there. Control A, Control C. Actually, get rid of these. So I'll go with this one, and then I'll hold Shift and go up to the top. Just select all those, Control C, and I can exit out of this, Control V. And now we have all our sprites in the assets folder. As you can see right here, we're going to make a new atlas that we're going to put all these sprites in. We'll call this drops atlas. And the atlas will just go add images, and we'll just type in item. That's the name of all my things. So we'll click on the first one, click on the last one with Shift, press OK. And now I have all my items loaded into the game. And now we can basically we can set our sprite for the drop. So we're going to create a new game object. So we'll go game object, call this drops game object. We're going to use a factory to spawn this game object from our NPC when we press the die function. So we have all our things in our atlas. Now we got drops.go, we got the game object, and we'll just add a sprite component. and our image will be drops atlas, and the default animation, we can just put it as 1, which will just be the sword. And then we'll file save all, go to the NPC script, and I'm going to scroll down to, we have our input focus. So when we do this, we're going to do basically factory create. I have a little script here. I need to go back and reference just to make sure. So yeah, everything's fine. So we need to go back to our main collection. We can go to our NPC, and we can add a component. We'll just call this the factory component. And the prototype will be the drops.go, that game object. And in our NPC script, we can go down here and we go factory.create. We can do this before we post the message to disable. Factory.create, and then we'll just create this game object, which is our factory.create hashtag factory. So, which is just going to say to create our factory, which is our spawner. So whatever the prototype for the factory is will spawn. And then we see msg.post npc sprite disabled. So let's see what happens now. Should just spawn our item in place of where the sprite is. So we'll just control B, and when we press C, now we have our drop, and now we have our our item in the world. So it'll be the same as if we did damage to them until death. That would be what we put in place of our action ID when we get there. And so that's our object spawning in the world. Now, what if you want this object to change from our atlas? So we have this atlas of all these items. Well, what if we want to change the item to this or that? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new script. So we got a new script, and this will just be our drops script. Create that script, and then on initialize, we can just go sprite.play flipbook, and then our URL is just going to be hash sprite. As you can see from the drops game object, we'll just go, since this script is going to be attached to the game object, it'll just be hash sprite. Now, the thing we need to do right now is actually connect it to the game object. So we add the component file, drop script. Now the script will play on our game object when it's spawned. Then we go back to our drop script. And then we'll go sprite. That's the location. So anything before the hash will be the game object that the thing's located on. Anything after is the component of the game object. No two components can be named the same thing. So, and then we'll play item, go to our atlas. We can just say item underscore 26, and that will be our new image for the thing. We control B, and this time when we kill him, it will drop this object. And then, so one more thing we can do to stop just so that it only happens once, we can also just go to our NPC script and action released, not released. Should stop the blur, so when you click it once, it just happens once. So the thing is still following us. That's fine for now. It really doesn't matter. So we can just, later we'll just create a script to delete the whole game object when we pick it up. So, and the thing will only be able to die once. So that's, that will fix that problem. So the game object will be spawned wherever it is. And yeah, that's how you create drops for your character and Defold.